Hello again. So thank you all for joining us. Really appreciate it. Great turnout as we've had all over the past few months, really. So that's great to see, and looking forward to providing you a really informative webinar today. We're going to be talking about creating digital-only editions with a particular focus on publishers increasing their customer touch points, replacing print with digital, packaging up digital content into more engaging and crucially valuable products, and how to attract, engage and retain premium subscribers. So today's webinar will be hosted by, there's three of us, which is always good. There's myself, Ben Edwards. I'm the Business Development Director here at PageSuite, and I get to work with all of our publishers across the world really now, big and small, right from LA in the West Coast to Fiji in Asia Pacific, helping them monetize their content and deliver on their digital strategies and goals.
And I'm Simon Freitz. I'm the Product Director for PageSuite. I look after the design and development of our core products.
Hi, and I'm Ben as well, Ben Holmes, and I'm the lead developer on the portal, which is the back-end system for creating these digital-only editions.
Great, so what have we got in this webinar? As always, we'll take a quick look at what's happened in the last month or so in publishing, after which we'll show some really great digital-only edition examples, share insight into their strategy, including Simon actually taking us back to his old stomping ground and sharing how he managed to enable one of the UK's best daily papers to go digital only. We've got a demo from Ben Holmes, so you can see the nuts and bolts of our edition portal too. And then we'll finish up with how we could potentially work with you on a product like this and our Q&A. So at this point, it's worth saying, if you do have any questions during the webinar, feel free to ask them at any point and we'll tackle those as best we can at the end. If you're having any audio issues, please email marketing@pagesuite.com and we can try and assist. And the final point is, hopefully this is of use, we'll be recording this webinar and you'll automatically get it emailed into your inbox so that you can share it with your colleagues or you can refer it back to later at your own leisure. So first off, we'll be looking at the industry side of things. Now, there's been a huge emphasis during COVID to retain and acquire new subscribers. This week alone, there were reports in Press Gazette and in publishing, both UK-centric brands, admittedly, but they show that the value of traditional media brands has increased. And on last month's webinar, in fact, we showed even more data that indicated many brands right across the world have had large digital audience growth in the past 6 months, many turning that into registered or paying readers and utilising replica or digital-only products to engage with those subscribers. And although industry-wise, we've seen Google announce plans to pay news publishers, and we've seen a couple of companies announce staff reductions, the largest being Meredith, magazine published in the US. There's more relevant news that's pertinent to today's webinar topic that actually we wanted to cover off. So in the US, we saw Denver Gazette launch a digital-only edition. And though it looks to me as though they're still creating a PDF first, and whilst replicas are still very popular, potentially they could be looking more towards solutions like our own to create a digital-only edition. Waco, which is the holding company for Arkansas Democrat, again in the USA and again a newspaper, generated some positive coverage too, because they announced some really good results. Their recent strategy was to stop print delivery to some of the remote subscribers in the outer areas in their state. So they gave them a tablet and digital edition access to help retain those premium subscribers whilst cut their print and distribution costs. News Corp Australia have gone one further and actually stopped print for tens of titles and replacing those completely with those digital editions with digital-only products, and their print product has gone completely. And if you're an INMA member, I strongly urge you to listen to last month's webinar where the Australian publisher talked all about that whole project, which we've been involved in, which was fascinating.
And then close to home in the UK, The Sun have relaunched their Classic app, which although isn't a digital-only edition, I think mirrors what we've seen a lot in the industry recently, which is a renewed focus on a digital edition of some kind, in that case, a replica.
So on the digital-only side of things, First, we wanted to actually frame what we consider a digital-only edition. It's a completable and finishable product created from digital content. So CMS feeds can be published into a digital flat plan with a range of templates, which include front covers, section fronts, articles, all with a high level of automation. So readers get a finishable cover-to-cover premium reading experience without you ever needing to create or have a PDF in the first place. For us, on the platform side of things, we deliver this as iOS and Android apps, and also to the web as a PWA, which is a progressive web app. And over the next few slides, we're going to be looking at the use cases for these. So that will include a video, an overview from one of the pioneers, which is actually a client of ours, Dallas Morning News. You'll also get a feeling for how and why these digital-only products are working. Simon will talk through the key features and who we integrate with, and then I'll conclude that section with the ways in which we could help you get to market. So there's 5 points that we wanted to cover off on the use cases slide, and the first of which has probably been the most popular to date with our clients, and predominantly have been newspaper focused, and that's by creating a digital only evening edition to supplement the already popular morning print replica type product. So we've had Dallas Morning News and tens of titles with Tribune Publishing in North America over the past few months, and nearly into a year actually, with some of those, creating a higher frequency touchpoint product with their evening edition. And it allows them to touch base with their readers at the latter part of the day, taking into consideration that journalists are now creating content 24/7. There's probably been news stories that have broken through the day, and there's an opportunity to compile those into a really nice digital only format and present that to premium subscribers. We've seen great traction in terms of delivering results for subscriber retention and subscriber engagement. Some of the titles have seen traffic levels match that of their morning e-paper, which internally has got to be considered a great success. And there's also the additional benefit to marketing teams, so they can position this to new subscribers as a strong value add to aid acquisition too. For magazines, there might not be the need to have an evening edition, but certainly from a higher frequency touch point, if you're a monthly magazine in print, you could potentially create a digital only weekly, or if you're a weekly magazine, maybe a digital daily. So you could market those types of products as an essential read, more like a digest, for instance. So this product will deliver your readers a more engaging format than newsletters, for instance, which we have seen have gained popularity as well. The third concept has been print replacement. I touched on News Corp Australia earlier, and there might be other publishers on this call, in fact, where you're finding that production is too costly, potentially distribution is eating into your margins, or newsroom resources are tightening. So if cutting print either for certain days of the week or completely is a consideration, but you still want to try and retain subscribers and provide them with a newspaper or a magazine filled experience, you can deliver this by utilizing the digital only solutions that we offer. In terms of spin-off brands, we've seen The Week and National Geographic have both spun off children's focused print magazines to great success. Perhaps for those of you who've got a title where there could be a spin-off opportunity to deliver digital audience growth. And in terms of niche audiences, these have always been popular ways for publishers to segment their audiences and package up web content or paywall access. I'm thinking things like sport, cooking, puzzles, politics, and limited time products could also fall into this type of category too. So it could be the Super Bowl, or it could be Champions League specials for sports. It could be the presidential elections for politics. It could be Davos Summit for business. The list goes on, essentially allowing you to have an opportunity to engage with that niche audience at a particular time using digital only editions.
So you can see now a video of the Dallas Morning News, and this shows their e-paper replica alongside the digital only edition. So the first thing you'll tap into here is the e-paper replica, and you can see a very familiar page-by-page navigation style. You can tap into that and get the page browser, which then shows you all the pages in the edition. If you come back and go into the digital-only edition, you'll see it looks and feels exactly the same as the first. You can zoom in just as you would with a morning replica. You can launch a mobile-friendly article view, which is all HTML, so the text size can be changed. And that shows really how you can sit the e-paper alongside a digital-only evening edition, and for the end user, it's the same user experience, the same kind of behavior. So it's very familiar for them. With Dallas, they had a lot of editorial involvement in terms of determining what was going to be in that evening edition. So they did user testing. They went out to the subscribers, found out what kind of stories they'd expect to see in that kind of evening edition. And that's how enabled them to bring in like a stronger digital product and more product for those users, which has been great for them in terms of retaining subscribers. And the key features of our digital-only editions, or anyone's digital-only editions, really are familiar behavior. So if it still feels like a completable reading experience, it still feels like an edited or curated content experience. For us, you can sit that alongside a PDF replica product, or it can be completely independent and just be a digital-only product. We can blend replica and digital-only pages, so you can have an HTML page alongside a PDF page of the paper or from the paper, and we can blend national and regional pages. So if you have a number of regional titles which share content with a national edition, you can build your regional editions from that national content skeleton. In terms of the features of the product, it all works offline. You can share and bookmark content within the edition, articles, and pages within the edition itself. It's integrated with Google Analytics and Firebase, which is another Google service that allows you to send push notifications. We can take any feeds from either your CMS or another source. We match that with HTML templates and create a branded digital edition. We've made integrations with app stores for in-app purchases, and also integrated with most major subscription providers. And we have options for advertising within the digital edition itself, so in the article view, and also within the pages for interstitials through DFP.
From a product perspective, the templates which you as the publisher choose are very important to the user experience. And you can see some examples here of more of a traditional newspaper feel with the Times of Malta compared to one of the Tribune's evening edition titles, which is a little bit more tabloidy. You can see how different content and different images can pull through into the templates too. And out of the box, we've got a huge array that you can utilize almost immediately. Setting up your flat plan with a front cover template, section fronts, or article views that meet your brand. We can pull in things like your type fonts and your masthead and make it look and feel as much like your traditional media brand as you wish. Touched on the fact there's tabloid and broadsheet type options. For magazines, we've got more of a magazine look and feel too. So you could potentially have more of a single article flow rather than newspapers that are dependent on 3 or 4 articles per page and have section fronts. There's also a really interesting concept we're working with a couple of magazine publishers already as well, where they've already got a replica product and looking to introduce digital only. And they're thinking that they might have the same front cover, one front cover available to all readers. And then once you go past the front cover, the reader chooses whether they stick with the replica for that audience that just love the pinch to zoom and the traditional look and feel, or maybe for a different type of audience, maybe a more mobile centric audience, you go the digital only route and have all of the articles split per page and you consume the whole magazine in that format. The beauty of it really is the opportunity to mix and match different templates that fit your brand, and even work with us on levels of customization with the templates during a setup phase, so that you can get something that matches your own internal expectations involving editorial, design, and other key stakeholders. So to finish this particular section of the webinar, we're going to look at the ways in which you can launch these products. Simon nicely touched on the user groups and the testing side of things that he and some of our PageSuite colleagues did with Dallas Morning News right at the outset of them launching their product, which provided invaluable feedback when we were going live. There's also the data side of things, so integrating with your analytics solution to look at what's popular, what's working versus what's not, and able to refine that over time. There's also the audience engagement side of things. This visual here was from News Corp Australia, and they did a range of things when they were cutting their print and going digital only, including doing incentives around device giveaways to try and generate interest in their new digital only subscription. There was also meetups where the local journalists who were retained by the publisher would meet with subscribers and potential subscribers to talk through what the digital edition actually offered them and how to use it and how to navigate it as a way to retain that premium audience. And of course, their marketing team engaged in pricing and promotional opportunities to try and win the hearts and minds of people that were potentially looking to cancel because the print had been disbanded. Once you go live as well, there's a lot of things that we'll do together collaboratively, including refining the design. Potentially, you might just want to launch on one platform. So lots of publishers choose to go web first with the PWA and then introduce it into native apps via iOS and Android, or even utilize our own SDK if you've got your own single app, and we can put that into it to enrich that product. We also find that customer expectations will be refined over a period of time as they come to use the product, and each of your brands will have things that are really relevant to your audience. So for some publishers it might be obituaries, for some it might be puzzles, weather, TV guides. All of these things could emerge during that launch process that might not have been in the initial build or the initial product to market, but we can work with you on that to incorporate into your digital only edition. And we've also introduced new advertising opportunities, including full page interstitials that go between the digital pages to further add value and return on investment on your product and license.
So now I'm going to talk a little bit about the independent daily edition. This is in my previous role as head of product at the Independent from 2013 until late last year. I was responsible for all of the Independent's digital products. As some of you may know, the Independent stopped printing in 2016. So in 2016, around March time, we hit what was really an inflection point for the business. The paid circulation of the Independent had dropped to a level that meant it was unsustainable to continue with a printed edition. And that's not just because of the costs of printing a paper, but also distribution, internal staff costs for design and layout, copy fitting to space, and then the logistics of getting everything off to the printers in time. So the cost of a print product is not just the print product itself, it's all the logistics and operations in terms of dealing with that. At the Indie, we had a large digital audience and a really successful website that was profitable through advertising revenue, but we knew that that website and that web experience didn't really appeal to our existing print subscribers. We also knew that the reputation of the website was built largely on the brand that the paper had grown. And so it was really important to the business to maintain some kind of media presence and some kind of feeling that we were still a newspaper in a traditional sense. And ultimately, we needed to find a product that would help us retain the print subscription revenue that we already had, deliver a great experience for those users, but also try and grow digital subscriptions. So as head of product at the time, I was responsible for researching the various solutions that could be available to us to offer print subscribers some kind of experience that we could continue and retain those people. It became clear pretty quickly that if you look at any of the top grossing charts for applications for news, it's digital editions that are driving all that subscription revenue. Certainly in the UK market, digital edition is the standout performer for most news brands. The print-like qualities of a digital edition, the idea that it's a completable reading experience delivered with the same cadence as a print product, containing an edited selection of the day's news, a view on events, and a clear front cover highlighting that publication's view of the main events of the day, are incredibly valuable to print readers. And for the independent, it was the front cover that really made the difference for us, because that's a marketable piece of the edition that shows not only the history of the paper, but continues that kind of legacy. So retaining that and continuing to be shown alongside the print dailies in the UK on the evening news, for example. So those of you in the UK know that the BBC will do their front covers or newspapers of the day for tomorrow. And at the Indie, it was really important for us that we retained a presence on that. So we needed to have a front cover. But beyond the front cover, I think the experience of a digital edition can be less tied to print. If you want to have multiple articles on a section page to really mimic a print product, you can do, but you could just go from the front cover into the first article and then through that edition, article by article, as long as it has a curated sense and a completable experience. And in my experience, I think what people really care about is the content. It's the content that's more important than the look and feel, and retaining an absolute replica of the newspaper itself. So we launched the independent digital edition, daily edition in March 2016. So it was an update to a previous version of the app that had tried to mimic more of a rolling news website experience. We ran a campaign with print subscribers, offering them an iPad mini if they subscribed for 18 months. And that promotion in itself was a risk, because it would only really pay off if 20+% of the people who took up that promotion renewed their subscription for the following year. So in the first instance, that promotion didn't pay for itself, and we had to wait 18 months to see if it then would. We also offered print subscribers 6 months free if they choose that instead of the iPad itself. And the uptake for the promotion and the 6 months free was fantastic. So it surpassed all of our expectations. Feedback on the product itself was really strong from print subscribers. The only reason that we got for cancellation from people really was that they just wanted a printed paper. They couldn't get on with a digital version, and they needed the feel of a print product in their hands. And we managed to retain around 80% of print subscribers through the move from print to the digital edition. And 3 months after stopping printing the paper, we actually had more digital subscribers than we'd ever previously had in print. The following year, when the renewal, or actually 18 months later, when the renewal came around for the initial cohort of subscribers, we had a renewal rate of just close to 90%. So way above the 20% we needed for that initial promotion to pay off. And longer term, the digital edition continues to be an extremely profitable part of the independence business, generating a 7-figure revenue year on year for what is effectively a minimal production cost, especially compared to print. I think as newspapers and magazines transition from print to digital, the independent daily edition really is a marker of how successful this transition can be for both end users and for the business. So in terms of the process overview for our digital-only edition product, I think as we mentioned previously, we take content into our portal via feeds, or you can manually create articles within that portal. Those feeds then populate pre-built HTML templates to generate a flat plan. A flat plan can then be published to generate the edition. And the edition can be published as it is, or it could be edited manually to move the order of stories around, edit the text, select alternative templates. And fully optimized editions that just use multiple article templates can be generated automatically by matching a feed of articles to corresponding article templates. But what we're going to concentrate on in terms of the demo is showing you that pre-built HTML templates, the flat plan, and how that publishing process works.
Okay, this is where I'm going to take over. Right, so I'm going to give you a bit of a tour around the portal. So the first thing you can see here is we've got 3 publications. So we've got a national and 2 regionals, and we're going to come back to that a little bit later. I know Simon covered that idea, but we'll have a look at that in a minute. So the first point in the portal is the feeds. So what we can do is we can import feeds that you have that are accessible on the web. So if you've got any feeds that are accessible, either JSON or XML, we can then map those into our system, and we can work with them. So even if your feeds require sort of API keys or have any security on top of them, we can work with those as well to get the content into our system. So once we've got our feed, so for example, we've got news, sport, and food here as 3 sections. We then need to build a flat plan. So we'll have a look in one of our regional papers for an example of that. And inside of this flat plan, we've got 3 sections, and those 3 sections map to the 3 feeds we've got. So inside of the news section, we've just got 1 page here, and this page has got three articles in it. You can have multiple pages inside a section, or you can stick to sort of 1 page per section. That's totally up to you. When you go into one of these, when you go into select the templates, you can either choose from account templates or global ones. So we've got a catalogue of templates we've designed already, which you can use straight away when you use the portal. So for example, you can change to any of these styles. But if you wanted to, you can work with us on designs you've got for templates, or if you'd like some of our designers to work on templates, then that's an option as well, if you have a specific idea in mind of what you're trying to accomplish. So we can attempt to either match a print replica you already have, or we can design something completely new. So once you've got your flat plan set up, we've got our 3 sections, we've got our 3 feeds, then we're ready to make an edition. So one of the editions here, I'll show you an example one. This has just been generated straight from the flat plan. So it combines the feeds with the templates that are already picked, and then injects the feed content into those templates. And we've got these 3 sections with the content in. So if we go into the news section, for example, we can see that page there, but we can also go in and then we can change that. So if we decide that this content doesn't necessarily work with the template it's been given, we can change that before we publish it. So we might decide that we want to change this to a different template. So we might decide, okay, that one's better, and then we can update that, and then we can use that before we push it live. We can also change the content as well. So if we decide that there's a headline that doesn't quite sit right in the template, we can actually go in and change that content. So in here, you could sort of add a line break in, as all of this content is HTML. So anything in HTML you can do inside of these templates. So like I said, line breaks, you can also import videos in and different types of widgets and things like that. You can also add additional images in an image gallery. So that sort of covers the article side of it. And we're also going to have a quick look at a couple of new features we've been working on recently. So one is the national section. So if you were to imagine you've got 2 regional papers and you've got maybe a national section, or you've got some content you want to go into each regional paper, but you don't want to have to duplicate that workload, you can do that work once inside of a national edition. So here we've just set up 1 section, which is going to be our national news, and that just has 1 page. So for example, we want that to go into all of our regional papers. What we can do is we can go into one of our regional papers, and then we can create a new section, and then we can import that section from a different publication. So we can choose the national, we can choose the edition we want to import from, and then the sections we want to import. So for example, we just want to import the national news there. and that imports that straight into the regional paper. Another option, which is something we've been working on recently, is the ability to upload PDF pages into this system. So this sort of ties into what Simon was saying about the independent earlier, where you might want to have a specific design for a front page. So we might want to have a PDF page here, and we could choose like a specific design. So we have this Dallas food front cover. So we might want that as the front cover for just a section. So we can import that PDF, upload it into the system. And one of the additional features we've got here is we can add an external link. So if you want that to have a click through to a website, then you can set that up to be a full link on the actual page itself. So one of the good things about that is you could link it off to, if you've got a specific website for, in this example, a food magazine, you could link it off to that. But this could also work for full page advertising as well, or reusing those print advertising positions. So these are all sort of options that you can work with. And I think that's probably about it in terms of the portal. But what I will also mention is that these editions flow directly into the same product that you will know from PageSuite. So either this is the web reader, or can also go into the apps and also the SDK as well. And these work just like everything else with our pop-up articles. And this is that feed content that we've just seen inside of the portal. So that flows straight into the standard PageSuite product. And I think that's about it for the demo. Brilliant.
Great. Thanks, Ben.
No problem.
Hopefully that gives people on the line a good idea of the actual solution in play. Also demonstrates hopefully how quickly and efficiently editorial production teams can create an edition. We found that those publishers live with our solution have dramatically reduced the resource requirement to create an edition compared to a traditional print product, even with large paginations. So we're fully aware of the complexities and the difficulties that lots of newsrooms, newspapers and magazines are facing, and that's why automation and efficiency is so important, particularly in the production process to this product.
I think another use case for that idea of uploading PDF pages that Ben showed before is that we know that a lot of publishers have print-ready services for things like TV listings, weather, or even puzzles pages. They're quite difficult to reproduce in terms of HTML templates, and so continuing with getting a page-ready service from a provider and being able to include that in your digital-only edition is a real benefit to the workflow.
Great. So hopefully you've got a good feel for what the product looks like from a front-end perspective to consumers, and a feeling for how some of our clients are driving engagement and driving digital revenues, because the concept of creating and packaging up a digital edition resonates more with readers as a piece of paid for content. Just to finish up, we're going to be looking at how we work with you. So Ben and Simon and myself have touched upon various areas where there'd be some collaboration involved, whether that be the initial setup of the flat plans or working actually on specific designs, the types of feeds that we can ingest. All of that you require more of a partnership style approach, rather than us or any other vendor just giving you access to a portal and expecting you to get on with it. Also, we do a lot of integrations and understand that media companies have got various subscription, advertising and analytics requirements. So there needs to be that collaboration to make sure that what you require from your tech stack is also met. Simon leads the core product releases every 3 months, and you would be invited to quarterly product roadmap sessions where you will have a voice and a seat at the table for the product direction. Hopefully clients on this call have joined those recently and are starting to see the fruits of those conversations. There's been great ideas that have emerged from the recent product roadmaps that are going into the product. So that's great to see. That's what it's all about. And for those people that aren't PageSuite clients, it's also worth noting that whatever market you're in, whatever geographic or territory you're based, you've got technical support available 24/7, 365 days a year. So if something really obvious isn't working, you can call us up and you'll get to speak to a PageSuite technician immediately, and they can assist you with getting your edition live, adjusting anything that you've seen in the portal, and essentially making sure that you can deliver a product to your subscribers on time in the best possible format. I think we're now going to move on to our Q&A. So if you've got any questions, now would be a great time to ask. I can see that through the webinar we've had a few already, which is great. Simon, Ben, do you want to take those and then?
Yeah, sure. So we've got one question here about monetizing digital replicas. So saying monetizing digital replicas is very difficult. What tips do you have to improve monetization? I think from my experience, it tends to be subscription revenue is the main driver for monetization of digital editions. They're generally considered a subscription product, as if a paid-for content product like a newspaper would have been or a magazine would be. We can also, as we've kind of discussed, integrate advertising into the digital edition solution so that you can monetize not only through subscriptions but also through advertising in terms of IAB standard formats in article views or interstitials within the pages of the edition itself.
Can I just add a couple of trends? Over the past few years, we've seen more publishers introduce the article view, which essentially enables readers to tap on a specific article and it pops up full screen. That particularly works nicely on mobile devices where pinch to zoom is a little bit more tricky. We've seen really significant increases in engagement and not directly attributed revenues, but obviously your marketing team can get behind that from a product perspective and push readers to subscribing. The other thing we've seen is with replica archives, adding value to a subscription or promoting the fact that there's some great legacy content available from the replica. And then other standout features that are pertinent to replica, so making sure that your readers fully understand the search capabilities, maybe utilizing push notifications better to try and drive repeat usage and therefore repeat subscriptions and engagement is also important.
And I think the other thing that's probably worth mentioning is because of the low cost and the low effort of generating a digital-only edition through this kind of system, you can use legacy content or different bits of content that you already have and generate a digital edition from that existing content. So you could do a look back in time, what happened this time 10 years ago, or as Ben mentioned earlier, sports or food specials, taking content out of your daily or weekly edition and putting that together as a monthly special, because the amount of effort involved is quite low and the cost to you is quite low as well. So generating additional product through that to sell to subscribers, I think works.
I've got another one here, which is how popular are digital-only editions compared to e-paper?
So I think Ben touched on this earlier when we were talking about evening editions, and that some of our clients in the US in particular had seen the same levels of engagement with the evening edition as they'd seen with their morning replica, which I think is a really great result. Ben, do you have anything else on that?
Yeah, I know anecdotally for some publishers who've replaced print completely with digital-only edition, they're very pleased with the retention rates and the regular engaged usage of those products. So I think that if you were to add an additional comparison to print, they compare favourably too.
Okay. There's another question here, which is what tips can you offer magazine publishers?
Yeah, I mean, a large part of this webinar has been focused on newspapers because they've been the first to move on this type of product, and their CMSs lend themselves more to being able to deliver us the content automatically. Lots of magazine publishers we speak to are still very much print-centric or InDesign-centric. But I think if you're a magazine publisher with the goal of building digital audiences, you've got CMS content, then I think my biggest tip is to talk to us and work with us look at the template options and figure out what you could deliver to your audience, because from a reader perspective, there will definitely be demand and there will definitely be revenue opportunities. It's just the technicality side of things that we'd want to work through with magazine publishers. And obviously you could break magazine publishers into B2B and B2C too. You know, consumer brands, maybe with not as regimented page layouts as newspapers. You know, the designs change week on week, month on month, whereas lots of newspapers retain a similar format day to day. Means that on first impressions, you might be thinking, oh, is this going to be like an Adobe DPS style, huge resource requirement type product? My viewpoint in that from various tests and beta things we've done with some very large publishers is no. There just needs to be a level of collaboration on that.
Yeah, and I think traditionally it's been difficult to be able to get that magazine feel in a digital replica without doing a digital edition, as it were, without doing a complete replica. I think what we've got now is a system where you can mix HTML templates and feeds with also, as we showed, uploading PDF as pages into that edition. So if there are pages or types of pages in your magazine that are more highly designed and more difficult to template, you could still produce those in a traditional fashion and we can import them as a PDF.
I've got one here actually, which is, can our design team have input into the templates? Yeah, absolutely. You can work with our designers on this, or you can submit designs that you have. We can do most stuff. So these templates are made in HTML, so we have to conform to some styles, but in general, yeah, we can work with anything you've got.
And then the next question is, how important is it to have a mobile app when delivering a digital edition as compared to delivering a digital edition through our website? So what's the popularity, I guess, of a mobile app versus a web or the PWA? And we offer both. Well, we offer products that will span all the platforms, all the major platforms, so Android, iOS for apps, for mobile phones and for tablets, and then the PWA, which will work in a browser on any kind of device. I think there's still real value in the marketing side of having an app in the App Store. I think you will get people who will just engage with your brand just by downloading an app from the App Store. And if you don't have a presence there, I think you're missing out on a potential market of users. So I do think there's value in that. From our point of view, we enable all the platforms off the same back-end service. So there's no great work involved in delivering the app beyond the web site. So I think there's definitely value in that. Ben?
Yeah, I think because we've got publishers in such a wide range of markets, literally on every continent, that also plays quite a significant part. I know in North America, so in US and Canada, in places like Boston, New York, lots of the major cities where we've got strong brands utilizing our platform, web is such an important part of their product for the replica and for digital only, particularly when you compare it to the UK that has significantly lower web digital edition audiences than apps. But then you go a little bit further east to mainland Europe and it balances out a little bit and is more closer to sort of 50-50 where users are using both web and app. So yeah, there's no concrete answer to that. I think it really depends on what you're publishing, where you're located, and like Simon said, in an ideal world, you'd be across all platforms because then you're definitely not missing out on anybody.
Okay.
Good few more questions, actually.
Yeah, I can read one out actually. One is asking about advertising placement and how that works in this product. So technically speaking, because this product goes into the standard PageSuite system, then any of the advertisements that you can do in standard PageSuite, you can do in this. So those include things like left-hand ads, interstitial ads, and also adverts in flow of the article, so after a certain number of paragraphs. We're also working on interstitial adverts for the SDK at the moment, so you can decide after, you know, at a given point in the edition, you might decide that you want a specific advert. So if you're inside of the sports section, you might want a specific advert for that. So that's something we're working on at the moment as well.
I've just seen a question: could the digital-only edition be offered within an existing app that serves other content? And the answer to that is yes. We've got an SDK available. So if you've built your own live newsfeed app, for instance, and you want to have an edition within that, we can offer you that opportunity via the SDK. Equally, if you wanted to use our live newsfeed product and bundle that in with an edition-based product, be that digital only or replica, you can do that too.
Okay. Do we have any other questions?
There's one that says, can I host on my own domain? Currently, I download a zip of the digital edition files for upload into my CMS to self-host. I'm not sure on that technically. Ben, do you know?
Sorry, can you repeat that, Ben?
Can I host issues on my own domain? Currently, I download a zip of the digital edition files for upload into my CMS to self-host. I know we can do URL masking, but I'm not sure about self-hosting.
Yeah, no, at the moment we just do URL masking, so it's still on our system, but it can go behind your domain. So we can set up a subdomain for you that would be something like edition dot or, you know, digital edition dot something. But no, we don't actually offer that as a service.
Okay, well, thanks to everybody who's stuck by throughout. I can still see a significant percentage who've also engaged with the Q&A, so really appreciate that. Hopefully you found it useful. As I mentioned right at the top, you'll be getting a recording into your inbox once that's processed to send on. If you want to connect with me, Ben or Simon, we're all on LinkedIn. And if you've got any more questions or feedback, you can email us or marketing@pagesuite.com. But for now, I'd like to say thanks for your time.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, everybody.